Hey, I'm talking to Bhume Bhumiratana, who's an advisor to the SEC on technology issues here in Thailand. And I'm really glad I got a chance to talk to you since we're here in Thailand. I want to find out more about the local scene here. You just did a panel discussion on just the state of blockchain regulation, token investing, etc. in Thailand. And could you please recap some of that for us? I just want to find out in general, what is the ICO and blockchain environment here?
Okay, so recently in May, the government passes a law. So now we have a specific law that regulates this entire space, everything from token issuance to public crowd sale to primary market to regulating of the secondary market space, both exchange, brokers, dealers. So everything from the investing and fundraising perspective is now regulated by Thailand SEC. So we've come up with that framework, and SEC is undergoing process to create guidelines and specific rules and regulation on how to proceed with those right now. So everything should be back for people to continue to do their fundraising and activities and business starting soon. Exchanges that are open can continue to remain open until SEC tells them their license has been rejected. So right now, all 7 exchange or dealers in Thailand have already filed for license, and SEC is going through them right now.
Okay, excellent. And as an advisor, how did you come to get that role? Did they approach you, or did you approach them?
So I've been advisor on the technology side to SEC for 2.5, almost 3 years now, helping them with all things with digital innovation and cybersecurity at first, and then blockchain sort of come along the past 2 years. And I just also happen to know this area really well because I used to teach in this area, so cryptography is my expertise. So a lot of people in the industry started asking for my advice, and SEC too, but I am already advisor to them, so they just extend my contract and expand it from 10-15% to 40-50% time right now to help them with this entire space. Yeah.
Excellent. And I've heard a few people say that smaller countries like, say, Singapore or Malta are more able to, regulate this space just because they move more nimbly. They're more interested in attracting that kind of investment. Do you think Thailand is genuine about wanting to attract more kind of ICO businesses or crypto exchanges?
So attracting or not really is a government policy. Right now the government has a neutral stance, meaning they don't really want to attract, but they don't want to drive them away either. They think that they want to wait and see if this ecosystem develops a little bit more maturely. From the SEC side, SEC sees the benefit of this innovation, that it may be useful to solve a couple pain points in the fundraising and the secondary market space. So SEC is fully open to allow the ecosystem to develop. Just by sheer fact that we're one of the first few countries to have full-scale regulation across the board, and among the countries that do are the largest, we're hopeful that it might help to keep Thailand out in front in terms of the new wave of potential capital market innovation. So potentially maybe there will be more promotion regulation coming along from the government, but right now SEC is sort of serve as a rule-making process to keep everything in check, keep the community peaceful, that there's not too much fraud and scam going on, because even people who are in the crypto industry, that we walk in a very gray area, right? I mean, everyone you meet, you constantly have to be wondering if these people are fraudsters, right? All the time. What we're trying to do is making sure that while the ecosystem is growing, we're sort of weeding out these people and keeping only the people who are honest about innovating and fundraising around. So.
Excellent. Yeah. So actually, let's get into specifics. What are some of the conditions that a company would need to satisfy if it wants to do a token fundraising?
It's actually not hard. If you are raising fully private from institution investor only, there are lots of exemption that allows you to do it without getting SEC permission actually, but you should look into the detail of the law on that. So if you fully think that you are qualified to to do it without requesting permission from SEC, then you can do it, right? But when in doubt, just talk to the regulator, right? SEC has a clinic that helps you figure out if you fit within the exemption or not, right? If not, or if you want to fundraise from the public, there's a specific process you have to go through. You have to structure your deal. You have to work with ICO Portal, which is technically basically ICO advisors company. So we create a class of companies that now a few companies are registering to be equivalent to a financial advisor for IPO process. You're going to require to get one of these people to help you at least to help you figure out if you're in compliance with the law, your KYC process is good, your reason for doing fundraising is good. Good as in it's not a scam, right? You have a reason to fundraise. You're competent to do whatever that reason you came up with. So all the CDD due diligence that has to happen will be handled. And then once that's done, then you come to SEC and ask for permission. SEC will look at your prospectus. If you've disclosed enough, are there additional risks you didn't disclose? For example, you're heavily in debt or not, or are you a foreign person that has no standing in Thailand at all? So to declare to the investor saying these are different type of risk, and then you can just fundraise. It's really that simple, but of course, each of those things will probably take like a month or two if you are well prepared, and if not, it probably take like 3 to 4 months to go through each of those steps. So it does take a little bit longer than just wake up one morning and think, oh, I know how to program and I want to do ICO. But this is all to protect investors, right? So there are a clear process. And starting about Q1 or Q2 next year, everything should be in place. Right now, if you want to start this process, you're going to be stuck at some point because not all the rules are fully declared and written out. But in a couple of months, I think everything will be ready.
Yeah, I think even 3 to 4 months is not that bad when you look at what could happen if you don't do it at all. So,
exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, and I may have heard this wrong in the presentation, but did you say it's easier for an established company to list an ICO, or is it just as easy for a completely new startup?
So for ICO, there's no requirement. So anyone could request to do ICO. But your success to do fundraise is probably if you are somewhat profitable beforehand, right? But that's not SEC concern. SEC concern is that you're not a fraudster. So if you're an established company already and has a history, you're much more likely to pass the due diligence requirement easier, right? If you're a brand new company, SEC is going to require that the portal vet you quite a bit, right? But it's possible. So when I say it's harder, it's not because the regulation makes it harder. It's because to fulfill the requirement of the regulation may be a little bit harder because there's a little bit less about you to know that you're not a fraudster. So there may need to be a little bit more digging.
Yeah, that's true. And you also said that if you're a completely foreign company with no ties to Thailand, it would be very difficult to get vetted. Is that right?
You can, but you have to basically satisfy the requirement of SEC saying that you're not a fraudster, right? So you'd have to provide sufficient amount of proof. That proof may be difficult if it comes from foreign entity, so it may require a couple back and forth, right? Can you get a little bit more? The banks that you use are not very well reputable. Can you find, has your business been registered in some more reputable country and not just tax haven and things like that, right? Are your advisors that are overseas really in agreement? How can we be sure that the contract you have signed are really signed by them, so that you may need to actually fly them to SEC or at least video conference them in? Things like those. Those are all basically due diligence because the goal is to get rid of the scam, right? So if you're a completely foreign company, there may be a little bit more hurdles you have to go through, but that's natural because if you have been in Thailand, SEC can call up a couple people and they say, oh, I know this guy, right? And that's easy, right? But if you're completely new to Thailand and SEC don't know anyone who knows you, then you're going to have to do a lot of proving.
Yeah, I'm guessing they don't want Thailand being used as a flag of convenience for
Exactly.
completely outside ones.
Yeah. I mean, the goal is to protect investors, primarily Thai investors, but we want to be a good citizen of the world, so we don't want fraudsters from here frauding someone else too, outside of Thailand. So that's why SEC is going to be working with global regulator around the world to try to basically help each other out, swatting down Thai company raising in some other country and frauding them and things like that.
Yeah, actually, that all sounds pretty rational to me. So, do do you actually have a differentiation between different types of tokens, say utilities tokens, security tokens, and I think there was one other as well. There was like a debt token.
Yeah. So tokens can come in many forms, right? Common word in industry are security token and utility token, but really there's a whole lot more, right? There's debt token if it's structured like debt. There's equity token if it's structured like equity. Even securities token, by strict definition, means that it is a securities in that jurisdiction. And securities in Thailand has a very specific definition. So a lot of securities token that may be considered securities in US or in Singapore may not be securities in Thailand. So in Thailand, we have a new word called investment token, which is a little bit more broad to cover that area, right? And then, we also have utility token, we have cryptocurrency. So we have many classification. A few of them are formal, as in within SEC, we sort of have an agreement inside SEC that how to define them, but it's not clear cut. So there's a little bit of gray area across all of them. There's no like one dark line. So you have to look at it case by case, right? Because each token can have many property. If a token has only one property, it's easy, right? If it has multiple property, we have to figure out the primary property. Why is the investors investing on that, right? If the investors focus mostly, the main benefit to investors are mostly utility, then it should be a utility token, even if occasionally it provides a small amount of dividend, right? So it really depends on what the investors are going to look at, right? So that's going to take a little bit of case by case deliberation.
Excellent, and I think some people are going to be very interested in this once it's all sorted out next year. So, where should people go? Like if they're just starting out, where do they go for information?
So SEC has a website. So just go to sec.org.th. There's an English version of the website, which with a little bit fewer information but a good summary. That's one place to look at all the formal announcement. SEC tried to make sure they publish English version as soon as possible, but it's not as fast as the Thai version, obviously. And I say they because I don't do any of this stuff, right? I just advise them to help them make decision, but they do have this process. Another way to do it is to keep in touch with the industry. The industry itself is reacting to SEC all the time, and it has a very good collaborative relationship with SEC. SEC holds meeting or town hall or events every now and then, so participate to meet. There's no better way than just to get to know the people in the industry.
Great. Okay, then we'll definitely be following up on this when it changes next year or when it becomes clearer. So thanks a lot for talking to us.
All right, thank you very much.